Previously on Bound by the Alpha, a new day dawns on Keal's territory, but the shadows of jealousy and longing grow ever longer, as Selen finds herself drawn deeper into pack life and into the orbit of both new friends and unexpected rivals. Keal must confront the true depths of his own feelings before the bond between them slips away. But change is coming swiftly. Rumors swirl, alliances fray, and old wounds demand reckoning. Across the border, Darius and Lyra plot their next move, both oblivious and bound by a secret now taking root in Lyra's heart. And in the darkness, unseen eyes begin to move. In Keal's world, and beyond it, nothing will ever be the same. Morning light streamed through the trees as Keal led Selen along a quiet trail bordering his territory. The air held a crisp peace. The only sounds were birdsong and the distant laughter of pups already at play. Keal kept his pace easy, allowing Selen to observe the land and choose what most interested her. "This path borders the wild orchard," he said softly. "It's a good place to think." His words weren't commanding, only an offer. Selen brushed her fingers against the budding branches. Every step with Keal felt different than what she'd known before. There was space for silence, for her questions, for wonder. "Why do you care so much about this place?" she asked gently. Keal paused, searching for the right words. "The pack needs roots. So do I. We protect the land, and the land gives back." He smiled, a flicker only for her. "And everyone deserves somewhere they belong." She met his gaze, uncertainty melting into warmth. "Is that what you want for me? To belong?" Her voice quivered but held hope. Keal's wolf bristled at the thought of her ever leaving. "Yes, if you'll let yourself." The trail ended at a clearing where wildflowers bloomed. Keal stooped and picked a tiny blossom, handing it to Selen without ceremony. She accepted, heart fluttering at the simple gesture. Alone together, the awkwardness faded, replaced by something vulnerable and real. Unseen, a pair of jealous eyes watched from the cover of trees, and from the distant border of the territory, the first hint of Corbin's new scheme began to stir. Dew clung to wildflowers, and every breath felt easier here. So different from Darius's stone-walled estate, where silence had always pressed in from all sides. She startled at the crunch of footsteps behind her, but relaxed when Keal appeared. He wore his usual practical clothes, boots muddy from the early patrol, hair slightly damp from sweat or morning rain. "Couldn't sleep?" His tone was soft, concern wrapped in steady calm. Selen shook her head, looking away before meeting his eyes. "I'm not used to so much space, or the quiet." She hesitated, nerves fluttering in her chest. "But it's nice. It feels alive." Keal offered a slow smile, one rarely seen by anyone else. "This land's been in my family for generations. The pack keeps it thriving, and it does the same for us." He motioned ahead. "Walk with me?" They fell in step, moving slowly through the orchard. The hush between them was not uncomfortable. Selen studied a cluster of cherries fattening on the branch. Keal pointed out a hawk circling in the pale sky. For a moment, neither needed words. "I used to dream about a place like this," Selen confessed quietly, "but dreams are dangerous where I come from." Keal's expression grew serious. "You're not there anymore." He hesitated, voice quieter still. "Here, you can want what you want, even if it takes time to believe it." The orchard path curved, sunlight breaking through to warm her skin. Being beside Keal was both strange and steadying. He didn't ask her to explain, didn't press for more. The only thing he offered was possibility, and for the first time, Selen let herself hope she might take it. Behind them, the sounds of the pack waking up carried on the breeze. Laughter, gossip, the start of another complicated day. The main hall buzzed with the scents of fresh bread, roasted root vegetables, and strong tea. Long tables were already crowded when Keal and Selen entered together, side by side. Conversations faltered, glances darting their way before resuming with new fervor. Marek, already seated near the center, offered Selen a broad smile and gestured to the seat beside him. Before she could move, Keal rested a firm hand on the chair to his right. "Here," he said quietly, and Selena, sensing the shift, settled at Keal's side. Across the table, Mira leaned into Tamsin, voice low. "He never brings anyone on early walks, not since Lyra." A little further down, the younger women eyed Selene's place with the alpha, envy and skepticism flickering in their looks. Marek, undeterred, engaged Selen with questions about the orchard and the morning. His easy banter and warm laugh drew a smile from her, earning a tense look from Keal. Rafe caught it and smirked behind his mug, while Lena, ever the peacekeeper, smoothly shifted the conversation to pack projects. Children darted through the room, and Mira's youngest climbed into Selene's lap, sticky with honey. The sight drew murmurs, some approving, some possessive. Selen eased into her role, quietly helping the child, earning a subtle nod from Mira. Keal, sensing the dynamics, kept his focus on Selen and the table around them, protective but not possessive, determined to give her space while making his stance clear to the pack. Meanwhile, Marek's boldness only grew. "If you like the orchard, you should see the western ridge. It's the best view this side of the river. Maybe a walk later." The implication hovered in the air, and Keal's wolf bristled. Lena, sensing the tension, quickly offered Selen an invitation to help her in the herb garden after breakfast. As the meal progressed, the pack's whispers continued. Some were hopeful, others skeptical, but all agreed. Something was changing in Keal's home, and it started with the woman at his side. The sun was climbing higher by the time the pack gathered on the open field. Children scampered toward makeshift obstacle courses, while older wolves paired up for sparring drills and races. Lena guided Selen to join the games, offering her a staff and an encouraging wink. "We all learn by doing," she whispered. Selen exhaled slowly, nerves edged with excitement and a desire to prove, even if just to herself, that she could belong here. Marek, ever the bold one, challenged her to a friendly match. "Winner gets first slice of honey cake at tonight's meal," he teased, twirling his own staff with an easy confidence. Laughter rippled around the field as Selen accepted, drawing interest from the pack. The women murmured, some stifling smiles, others watching with veiled suspicion. Keal, standing on the sidelines with Rafe and Jace, watched every move, his wolf simmering beneath the surface. The match began. Marek pressed forward, but Selen, surprisingly agile, deflected each maneuver. A few onlookers called encouragement. Even the children watched, eyes wide. With a sudden twist, Selen caught Marek off guard, tapping his shoulder and claiming victory. Cheers erupted, breaking the usual reserve, and even some of the skeptical pack members offered her nods of newfound respect. Keal met her gaze across the training field, pride and something warmer flickering in his eyes. When Selen smiled, genuine, for the first time this morning, Keal felt hope, edged with longing. For a brief moment, all rivalries and whispers faded. But as Selen handed the staff back to Lena, she caught the sharp, appraising glance of a senior wolf on the far side, one that promised acceptance would not come without more tests. In the laughter and sunlight, Selen felt both possibility and pressure growing, while Keal's silent support made the promise of belonging feel closer than ever before. The exhilaration of the training field lingered in Selene's chest as she slipped away to the edge of the clearing, seeking a little solitude. The gentle murmur of the pack faded behind her as she traced her fingers along the rough bark of an old pine tree, steadying herself amid the foreign rush of acceptance and attention. A soft crunch of footsteps signaled Keal's approach. "You handled yourself well out there," he said, voice low, pride woven through every syllable. Selen looked up, searching for any trace of judgment. Instead, Keal's gaze was open, steadfast, quietly admiring. "Thank you. I didn't expect anyone to cheer for me." Keal leaned against the tree beside her. "The pack saw your strength. You earned that. You don't have to hide who you are here, not from me." For a moment, silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. Selen risked a question, voice barely above a whisper. "What if they never accept me? What if I can't belong?" Keal turned to face her fully, sincerity clear in his eyes. "You already belong as much as you want to. The rest will follow." His hand almost reached hers, then hesitated, as if waiting for permission. Selen felt her fear loosen, just a little, replaced by hope. "I want to try," she admitted. Keal's wolf surged beneath the surface, desperate to close the distance, but he restrained himself, giving her the space she needed. "Then try, with me." Their eyes held, and for a heartbeat, the world was only possibility. The halls of Darius's estate echoed with morning routines, servants bustling, doors opening and closing, the steady hum of business as usual. But in a corner suite, Lyra sat hunched on the edge of her bed, knuckles white around a porcelain teacup she could no longer drink from. She'd hidden the pregnancy test in a locked drawer, its silent verdict haunting her every waking moment. Fatigue gnawed at her edges. Morning sickness forced her to cancel her usual duties, blaming migraines and the toll of constant pack politics. Marek stopped by with a stack of messages, her eyes lingering with concern. "You're pale, Lyra. Should I bring the healer?" Lyra shook her head, forcing a polite smile. "No need. I just haven't slept." Even that small lie felt heavy. Left alone, Lyra pressed a hand to her stomach. She was known for her poise and strategy, her ability to read rivulets of power and bend people to her needs. Yet this secret, felt impossible to control. She resented Darius's cold ambition, envied Keal's protective warmth toward Selene, and for the first time, feared what her future might hold. She considered her options in a cycle of dread and hope. Should she tell Darius, risk being used for another power play, or keep silent and try to carve out leverage of her own? Even Marek, her closest confidant, could be a risk. Lyra couldn't afford vulnerability. Tears threatened, she blinked them away. "Not yet," she whispered, jaw clenched with determination. "No one can know." Outside, wind rattled the windows, reminding Lyra her secret, for now, was safe. But as new rumors and tensions swirled through the estate, she knew it wouldn't stay hidden forever. The den was cloaked in shadow as Marek stood before Corbin, every muscle taut. Corbin's eyes glinted with simmering rage, the air heavy with disappointment and threat. "You let Keal pluck Selene from right under us," Corbin hissed, voice low but cutting. "You made me look weak, in front of Darius, in front of everyone. Why should I trust you to fix what you broke?" Marek bowed his head, shame burning across his face. "Keal's pack was more coordinated than I thought, but I'll find her. I'll bring her back." Corbin circled Marek like a predator. "You'll do more than that. The time for subtlety is over. Keal wants her, so we'll give him a reason to leave her unprotected." He turned, pulling a leather pouch from a cabinet and handing it to Marek. "This contains binding dust. Get close enough to Selene, and her magic will be suppressed. She'll be easier to move, and Keal might get careless." Marek nodded, resolve hardening beneath humiliation. "What about Keal's pack?" Corbin smiled coldly. "If Keal's territory is distracted by a staged attack or by rumors of betrayal, they'll never see you coming." Corbin's gaze drifted to the moonlit window, planning further moves. Find her, break her, deliver her here. Do it quickly before their bond grows stronger. Marek left, determined to redeem himself, while Corbin paced and plotted, already considering what else he'd need to tip the balance. More allies, darker magic, and a distraction that would shatter Keal's unity right when it mattered most. Afternoon light warmed the herb garden, where Selen worked alongside Lena, pulling weeds and gathering fragrant leaves for tea. Laughter from nearby children mingled with the gentle buzz of insects, a peace Selen hadn't realized she'd longed for. Lena paused, handing Selen a sprig of thyme. The others see your strength, but what will you do when they test your heart? Selen smiled shyly. All I can do is try. Later, Keal joined them, rolling up his sleeves to help, surprising the women with his willingness to get his hands dirty. Selen caught herself watching him, noticing the way he listened to Lena's stories and offered rare, genuine smiles to the pups nearby. Malik drifted over, making a joke about Keal's lack of finesse with gardening. Alpha, careful, Selen's outworking you, he teased, earning chuckles from the group and a competitive glint in Keal's eyes. As the day faded, Mira invited Selen to help prepare a communal dinner. Rolling dough and blending spices, Selena chatted with other women, accepting gentle teasing and practical advice. She felt herself begin to relax, the lines between outsider and member softening as genuine connections formed. At the meal, Keal made a point of thanking Selen publicly for her help, drawing nods and, for the first time, quiet acceptance from even the most skeptical elders. Afterward, Keal walked Selen beneath the moonlit orchard. He spoke softly about the pack's history, his losses, and the dreams he'd buried. Selen listened, offering comfort in silence and touch, her own walls coming down in the gentle dark. In those hours before trouble found them, trust and affection bloomed, making the bonds between Selen, Keal, and the pack stronger and more vital, ready to be tested by what would come next. The pack's evening had slipped into comfort and laughter, Selen and Keal lingering near the fire while children played and the elders swapped old stories. Just as dusk deepened to night, Rafe returned from his last border patrol, urgency in his stride. He found Keal immediately, voice hushed and tense. "Alpha, we have trouble. Someone's breached our perimeter. Tracks, fresh, not ours, not friendly." The pack's mood tightened. Quiet conversations faltered, heads turned toward their leaders. Keal's inner circle rallied fast, Lena and Mira whisking the children indoors, while Malik and the other fighters braced for orders. Selen's heart stuttered. The warmth of belonging was suddenly chilled by fear. Keal's hand found hers, his grip protective. "Stay close," he murmured, wolf bristling beneath his calm facade. Rafe led the Alpha to the edge of the orchard, lantern swinging as he showed the disturbed ground, unmistakable signs of Marek's approach. Bits of leather, a rare herb crushed underfoot, and symbols scratched in the earth in warning. Malik bared his teeth. "They're testing us. If they wanted stealth, they failed. If they wanted us nervous, they've succeeded." Keal scanned the perimeter, silent but furious. He knew this was only the beginning, but he refused to let fear drive them apart. He drew Selen close, signaling his trust and igniting the pack's unity around them. Inside the main house, whispered prayers and sharpened blades replaced games and laughter. The bonds forged that day would be their shield as the storm hit, each relationship now tested by the threat pressing at their gates. As dusk thickened and Rafe's warning arrived, Keal's voice rang out. "All non-combatants, children, elders, anyone not on patrol, head to your cabins or the main house now. Mira and Lena, guide everyone to the panic room and check for stragglers." Mothers and elders hustled everyone inside, Mira leading families toward a reinforced room beneath the main hall. Lena's calm, magical presence soothed nerves and ensured no one was missed, her gentle touch reassuring, her whispered words subtly boosting the wards. Outside, Keal assembled his key fighters. Jace, silent and strategic, coordinated perimeter rotations and fallback plans. Rafe, sharp-eyed tracker, led Keal to the fresh intruder tracks and pointed out signs nobody else would notice. Hawk, by the front entrance, checked magical wards and monitored tech for breaches, his focus split between surveillance screens and the defensive spells he maintained. Marek, both supportive and rivalrous, flanked Keal with restless energy, keeping one suspicious eye on Selen and another on the woods. Lena, after accounting for all inside, rejoined Keal, her healer's instincts ready for trouble, her magic reinforcing Hawk's spells. Selen stayed close to Keal, just inside the threshold, surrounded by his trusted inner circle. Keal murmured, "Your safety is my priority. If I signal, head for Lena and Mira. They'll keep you protected." Lena nodded in encouragement. Hawk offered a reassuring glance from his post. Keal quickly locked the doors after the last scout returned. The pack's main hall pulsed with anxious energy, but every role was clear. Jace managing strategy, Rafe scouting, Hawk watching security, Lena supporting wounds and magical wards, Marek filling out the defense with tension and bravado. Inside, families clustered together, warriors prepared to defend, and the bonds built that day held strong. Keal's coordinated leadership brought the pack together, united, prepared, and ready for what darkness might bring. The heavy doors closed with a final thud, sealing the pack's sanctuary. The panic room below was filled with soft whispers as Lena moved among families, offering comfort and gentle magical shields. Mira maintained order, ensuring everyone had food and blankets. Upstairs in the main hall, Keal gathered his inner circle. Jace unfurled maps, marking possible breach points, quietly relaying orders to rotating patrols. Rafe scrawled notes on the tracks found, Marek's style, not Corbin's, he muttered, scanning for new threats outside. Hawk watched the surveillance footage, tweaking magical wards and technical sensors, eyes darting between screens and the perimeter. Lena finished shielding the panic room and rejoined, posting herself near Keal's side so Selen and others felt her calming magic. Marek, restless, checked his blade and shot Keal a look. "If Marek wants a fight, let him come. We're ready." Keal's expression was unreadable, equal parts fierce and protective. He put a reassuring hand on Selena's shoulder. "Stay within sight. We hold together, no matter what." Outside, the woods pressed close, but inside the pack was united, every member shielded by the leadership's strength, loyalty, and shared purpose. As the tension built, Selen felt fear, but also something new, resolve. Surrounded by Keal's team, trust sparked through the shadows, preparing them for Marek's approach, Corbin's schemes, and whatever storm the night would bring. The moon hung low as Marek crouched at the edge of Keal's warded territory, breathing in the charged air. Magic hummed over the boundary, stronger than he'd expected, layered by Hawk's tech and Lena's subtle wards. He thumbed the leather pouch Corbin had given him, feeling the weight of the binding dust and his own bitter determination. Moving with calculated stealth, Marek skirted patrol routes Jace had organized, but Rafe's scent markers forced detours. Marek cursed softly, noting the high level of discipline and coordination. This was no routine defense. He paused at the outer orchard, watching figures at key posts, Marek, blade glinting as he scanned the trees, Hawk conferring with Lena over pulse wards, Jace mapping new patrols. Keal himself was visible through a window, protective and fierce beside Selen. The bonds between these wolves and their alpha were palpable, but Marek only saw vulnerabilities to exploit. Marek murmured a spell, testing the strength of Lena's magic. The defensive field pulsed but held, repelling his intrusion. He grinned grimly, pride stung, but not broken. Pulling out the binding dust, he whispered the incantation Corbin had taught him. The powder shimmered, dulling the pack's magic in a narrow corridor, enough for him to slip closer, near an unguarded side entrance. Inside, Rafe caught a flicker on the perimeter screens, and Hawk felt a brief disruption in the wards. Alarm signals sounded. Kyle's team snapped into action, calling for all stations to go red. But Marek was already moving, ghost-like, toward his target, Selen. The pack's defenses were tight, but tonight, Marek was desperate, and Corbin's order weighed heavy on his soul. Selen, waiting near the main hall's window, feels a creeping rush of cold, the pulse of magic failing, a strange numbness in her senses. Suddenly, Marek emerges from the shadows just inside the door, his presence sharp, eyes desperate. He lurches toward her, brandishing the pouch of binding dust and whispering, "This ends tonight, Selen. Come quietly and no one gets hurt." Selen's instincts flare. She freezes only a heartbeat before her wolf rises. "You shouldn't be here," she says, her voice steady despite fear. From the next room, Kyle hears Selen's cry, the unmistakable tone of danger. He bursts through the threshold with a snarl, placing himself instantly between Marek and Selena. In one motion, Kyle knocks Marek back, blocking Selen with his own body. "You want her?" Keal's voice is a guttural growl. "You'll have to go through me, and you won't survive it." Marek tries to cast another spell, dust shimmer swirling, but Keal's strength and resolve are unmatched. Lena appears just behind Kyle, eyes glowing with focused energy. Using her healer's magic, she calls the power of the earth and pack bonds, channeling a wave that disrupts the binding dust's effect. The air hums and pulses, the numbing magic recedes, and the wards reassert themselves with a sharp crack. She moves to Selen's side, grabbing her hand and murmuring a protection charm. "Stay with me. Trust the pack." Marek reels as Lena's magic burns through his spell. The corridor of suppressed magic collapses. Jace, Hawk, Rafe, and Malek converge as one. Jace drives Marek backward with calculated blows, forcing him into a defensive crouch. Rafe, swift and agile, intercepts Marek's attempted retreat, cutting off escape routes. Hawk reactivates surveillance, disabling Marek's remaining magical tools and scrambling his spells. Malek, unrestrained, lands a final tackle, pinning Marek to the ground with a triumphant snarl. Kyle grabs Marek, fury in every line of his body. "You threaten my pack, you answer for it." Selen, shaken but shielded by Lena, watches as the pack's unity overwhelms the intrusion, their bonds tested and made stronger. Marek sat bound to a chair in the pack's fortified council room, his wrists smarting from Hawk's expertly woven restraints. Jay stood at Keal's right, silent and intimidating. Malek prowled behind, ready to intervene. Rafe watched from the door, eyes unblinking. Lena hovered near Selen, blending comfort with vigilance. Keal's gaze was cold steel as he faced Marek. "You crossed wards and risked open war. For what? Who sent you?" Marek stared at the floor, sweat beading on his brow. "Corbin wants to force mate with Selen. He believes her magic will make him unstoppable. If she refuses him, he'll use her power in whatever way he can to control or harm the pack." Malek spoke up, voice edged with contempt. "So we're just a battleground for a power struggle? And Selene's caught in the middle. Marek winced. He sees strength, not a person. All he cares about is conquering her magic. Darius doesn't know. He just keeps her because of an old promise to her mother. Selene's voice, quiet but unwavering, broke the tension. What would he do if he got me? Marek's eyes flickered, regret chilling his answer. Whatever it takes, mate you by force, or use your magic as a weapon. He doesn't care who gets hurt. Jace leaned forward. How did you get past our wards? Marek shrugged, exhausted. Corbin gave me dust to suppress magic. Didn't last. He glanced at Lena, fear in his eyes. Whatever you did burned it back, hard. Keal pressed harder, voice dark. Where is he now? Marek hesitated, then surrendered. Corbin waits just outside your border, gathering more wolves. He won't stop until he gets what he wants. Kyle's team exchanged intense looks. Hawk marked the need for increased security. Lena stepped forward, fixing Marek with a gentle yet powerful stare. Why risk everything for someone who treats you as expendable? Marek's shoulders slumped. Sometimes you stay where you're wanted, even if it's nowhere at all. Keal's jaw tightened. You'll remain here until the pack decides your fate. If you cooperate, there may be mercy. Marek nodded, defeated. Selene's heart pounded with empathy and dread. The storm was just beginning, but tonight, her pack stood together, strengthened by truth and unity. Marek lingered near the entrance of the hall, absorbing the confused clamor echoing through Kyle's territory. He'd never been one for gossip or easy trust, but the news, Selene revealed as a witch, hit hard. He saw jaws tighten across the tables, old rivalries flickering to life, but Malik's attention was locked on the center of trouble. Selene moved with her usual quiet grace, nerves barely showing beneath her collected exterior. Malik watched her, shunned by faces that had once brightened at her smile, remembered how easily fear could turn kindness cold. He approached Lena, voice low. It true? She's a witch? Lena's answer was a strained whisper. Selene confided in me. Marek made sure everyone knows. She's in danger, Marek. Malik's mind flashed back to nights around campfires, when packs told stories about witches, dangerous, unpredictable. He didn't care. All he saw was Selene, bruised by suspicion and surrounded by wolves who didn't deserve her honesty. When Jace suggested they keep Selene under watch, Marek pushed back hard. She's one of us, as much as anyone here. That news doesn't change her heart. Jace eyed him warily. You sure about that? Marek nodded, jaw set. If the pack turns on her, they'll answer to me. Later, Marek found Selene alone in the weapons storeroom, avoiding the crowd. He stepped in quietly, offering her a mug of tea, not as a bribe, but as a comfort. They're scared. Not your fault. I'm not afraid. Selene finally met his gaze, relief flickering in her eyes. Thank you, Malik, for seeing me. Malik shrugged, but his voice softened. Not everyone here is blind. If you need to get out, if things get worse, you tell me first. Selen nodded, a bond stronger than blood forming in the shadow between them. Malik didn't know what the future held, but his mind was made up. He'd fight for Selene, even if it meant standing against his own pack.